Hey everybody, welcome back to another news roundup. Hope you guys been enjoying the content channel as of late. We have an interesting topic for today. Feel like we've talked about it before, but with a little more information now, I think it's good to dedicate a video to talking about this development and talking about just the trajectory with this investment, if it still makes sense or if it doesn't. And that is revolving around The Exorcist. The Exorcist, one of the most well-known horror films of all time. Personally, my favorite horror of all time. At least the scariest thing I've ever seen. But then again, my horror knowledge is kind of scattered. I'm not as big of a horror nut, compared to a lot of other people. So I'm pretty casual, when it comes to that field, because I'm also a bit of a pussy. But Universal Pictures, they bought out the rights to produce originally 3 Exorcist films that were originally meant to star some of the original cast, and first of which of those films came out in 2023, which was The Exorcist Believer. Now, financially, it may seem it did okay, but remember, we're not considering, the 50-50 split that goes into ticket sales and amongst other things. So once you do all that, the film generally underperformed, and it was panned by a lot of people. It didn't get a not great reception at all. I didn't hear much of anything good coming out of it. So plans for 2 more films in that series were scrapped, but they still have a large debt to pay because they spent $400 million to buy out the rights. So they are going to, you're going to get more Exorcist films regardless. So a new film is in development. This one with Mike Flanagan, and we just learned today, actually, as this recording on the 24th, that Scarlett Johansson is boarding to star in the film. And based on the articles that I've read, this version is completely separate from anything Exorcist related. So it's not a sequel to the original film. It's not a remake of that film. It's its own thing, but it resides within the same universe as that original film. So basically a spinoff. Here's my take on this, because there's some good points, but also some bad points. Because this is one of those franchises that I look at and I say, why is it a franchise? Because The Exorcist, I think that there might be some, or at least, when you're kind of considering, the quality when it comes to The Exorcist, because I try to think about it, like what makes The Exorcist popular? What is it about that film that resonates so much with a lot of people? And with other films like The Shining or Alien, sorry, my voice kind of is going in and out. At least there you can find things like in terms of aesthetic or the production design, or in the case of The Shining, like the music, or, and very much so the Shining, with its aesthetic. It's just choice of framing. There's technical features or other things, in the vein of performances or other things like that support those films and give them, culturally speaking, certain kinds of life. When it comes to The Exorcist, it is purely to do with quality. It is purely to do with how it is told. It's purely to do with the craftsmanship that is with William Friedkin, the efforts within its ensemble, the tone that's established, the practicality within it as well. It's a lot to do with the quality of that film, because if you were to whittle it down the story, it is essentially that of a story about possession. And we've seen that done many, many times, some of which were follow-ups to that original film. And the follow-up, actually, infamously, Exorcist 2, The Heretic, is labeled as one of the worst sequels of all time. And I've seen it, and it's not particularly good. So my questions come when it comes to this decision, Because not only now does an Exorcist film need to exist because of Universal's need to, to pay off their debt, what is it about this version that's going to make it stand out? Because, again, as we've illustrated, The Exorcist worked not because of what it was, but because of how it told it. So bringing something new in the vein of Exorcist is nothing more than just being a possession story. It's about how you tell that story is what's going to give it life. But my question being, in terms of a marketing standpoint, what is this new version, quote unquote new version, going to have that it isn't just another possession story? Because I think that's I think that's a part of the misconception that comes with The Exorcist. Some people look for certain qualities with when it comes to another Exorcist film, but the thing about Exorcist always was just purely to do with that quality. And obviously with the new film Believer, that film was not met with any praise. I've just heard nothing but bad things about it. But that's the obstacles that this film has to get over. This new version that's coming out, especially if it's going to be standing on its own, especially if it doesn't have to rely upon nostalgia. If it's just purely obviously there'll be some nostalgia in there, but being purely that of its own term will, definitely be good in that it will branch out and be able to do its own stuff. But at the same time, marketing it so as an Exorcist film, there's worry that you can be met with less returns, especially due to recent attempts, because this is a film that will be coming out 3 or 4 years after that after Believer came out. And as it stands, also, I just worry if the appeal is just not there, because it just doesn't sound that appealing, because once you whittle down, again, what Exorcist was, it was just a film that just worked really well, but nothing more than that. There's nothing more culturally outside of just the quality of the filmmaking. So I think this will live or die based on that. And, I worry that the debt will not be paid. It's enormous cost, enormous spending that was put to make at least 3 Exorcist films. So now it's more about trying to salvage, what might potentially a loss for the company, because I just don't know if people are going to show up another time for essentially another possession-like story, especially in the vein of a modern day era where that story has been told many, many times over many decades now. So The Exorcist was one of those earlier adopters, one of those films that, decided to dabble in that space. I know that there's films previously to Exorcist that have dabbled in the possession, type of scenarios, but it was one of those few that took a life on in a more mainstream way and not in just, a select audience. It was purely to do with that equality. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, but I have my worries. I really do. So, but you guys, let me know your thoughts on the new Exorcist film. Does it make sense? Does it not? What are your anticipations with Mike Flanagan's vision? Your thoughts on Scarlett Johansson taking on the lead role. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.